There is a very specific type of exhaustion that comes with following the tech industry.
Oh, yeah. The hype cycle.
Right. I call it vaporware fatigue.
Vaporware fatigue. That is the perfect term for it.
And nowhere is it worse. I mean, nowhere is it more obvious than in aviation.
Definitely.
Because for the last, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 years, every single time someone brings up flying cars,
Or air taxis.
air taxis, right? Every time it comes up, the collective response from the general public is just this massive eye roll.
Oh, absolutely. It's always CGI.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always some sleek, you know, impossibly shiny render of a vehicle gliding over a traffic jam in a city that looks suspiciously like Blade Runner.
Right. And the timeline is always what?
5 years away. Always 5 years.
Always 5 years away. It is the Jetsons' promise, basically.
Yeah, we've been waiting for the flying car since the 1960s, and
Yeah.
instead we got 140 characters and slightly faster food delivery.
Right. It's been the ultimate vaporware of the aviation world. But, and this is why we are here today, this is where it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because today we aren't looking at concept art.
No, we're not.
We aren't looking at some Kickstarter promise or a glossy brochure. We are looking at a press release dated today, March 2, 2026.
And that date matters. It really matters.
It matters immensely because if you strip away the corporate gloss, the usual PR speak, the message in this document is actually kind of shocking. The future has an actual deadline.
Yeah.
And it's literally scheduled for later this year.
It's a pivotal moment, honestly. So for this deep dive, we're looking at Achr Aviation. They trade under the ticker ACHR.
ACHR.
And they just released their fourth quarter and full year 2025 results. And if you look past the standard financial tables, the headline is startling. I mean, they are targeting passenger-carrying electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL flights, in 2026.
That is just wild to me. 2026, we are talking about months now, not decades.
Exactly.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack these results for you. We really need to figure out how a company that is burning through hundreds of millions of dollars, oh yeah, we will get to the cash burn.
Right, how they are actually positioning themselves to revolutionize urban transit and, surprisingly, and we will definitely get to this, national defense.
Yeah, that defense pivot is huge. And the burning cash part is really important context. This is an incredibly capital-intensive industry.
Right, building planes is not cheap.
Exactly. But what stands out in this report is that they aren't just surviving right now. They seem to be accelerating.
Okay, well, let's unpack this. Because the first thing that jumps out at me isn't the money. It's the machine itself.
The Midnight aircraft.
The Midnight. It sounds like a superhero vehicle, doesn't it?
It does have a certain ring to it. And according to the release, the fleet is actually growing. Achr is expanding its flight test program significantly. They're currently in what they call a VTOL flight test campaign.
Okay, so VTOL, for the listener who maybe isn't an aerospace engineer, what are they actually doing out there on the tarmac?
Right, so VTOL stands for vertical takeoff and landing. That is the magic trick here.
Because any plane can fly forward.
Exactly, any plane can fly forward. That's just basic aerodynamics.
Right.
But taking off straight up like a helicopter, using pure electric power, mind you, then tilting your rotors to fly like a traditional airplane, and then transitioning back to land vertically.
That sounds incredibly complicated.
It is an engineering nightmare.
That's the transition phase, right? I feel like that's usually where these things have issues.
Precisely. It is the most dangerous part of the flight envelope because the physics of the aircraft change completely in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
And the report indicates they are working through advanced test points. So this means they aren't just hovering carefully a few feet off the ground anymore. They are pushing the aircraft to prove it can handle that transition safely, repeatedly, and reliably.
And they're doing it with a pilot on board soon.
Exactly. That is the key differentiator here. Lots of drones can do this. Doing it with a human life on board is a completely different ballgame.
Now, there was a phrase in this report that felt like pretty heavy jargon. Honestly, my eyes glazed over a bit when I first read it. But you flagged it as the big aha moment of the entire document.
Oh yeah, the means of compliance.
Right, means of compliance. Achr says they have achieved 100% FAA acceptance on this.
Yes. This is massive. I know to the layperson, means of compliance sounds like boring paperwork.
It sounds like a box-checking exercise.
It does. But in the world of aerospace certification, it is the holy grail.
Okay, so what does it actually mean? If I'm listening to this, why should I care about means of compliance?
Think of it like this. Imagine you want to build a house, but there are no building codes.
Okay.
The city has literally never seen a house before. You can't just start building. You have to sit down and agree with the inspector on what a safe wall even is.
Oh, I see. So you have to write the rule book before you can even play the game.
Exactly. Means of compliance is the rule book for safety. Achr and the FAA have spent years arguing over the specific metrics. How hot can the battery get? How much stress can the wing take? What happens if a single motor fails?
Right.
Achieving 100% acceptance means that debate is finally over.
So the exam questions are set.
The exam questions are set, and Achr is the first company to achieve 100% FAA acceptance on this for an eVTOL.
The first one.
The very first. They have agreed on every single metric they need to hit to be considered safe. And this clears the path for the next massive step, which is Type Inspection Authorization, or TIA.
TIA. More aerospace acronyms.
I know the industry loves its acronyms,
Yeah.
but TIA is the gatekeeper. Once you have that, the FAA comes in and starts doing the official credit flight testing.
So they stop watching you fly and they start flying it themselves, essentially.
Exactly. And Achr expects TIA activities to begin as soon as this year. It essentially means the regulatory green light is turning on.
Well, that explains the quote from their CEO, Adam Goldstein. He said, let me pull it up. Everything we've built over the past 7 years is converging.
Yeah.
It really feels like they've been pushing a boulder up a hill for years, and now they're finally at the top, ready to let it roll.
That's a very fair analogy. And the strategy is paying off in ways that allow them to put a hard date on things. They aren't saying soon anymore. They're saying 2026.
So let's talk about that timeline, because where and when are we actually going to see these things carrying people? The report mentions two very different places, the United States and the UAE.
It is a dual-front strategy. So let's look at the U.S. first. The White House has an eVTOL Integration Pilot Program, or EIPP.
Okay.
Achr is on track for piloted operations as part of this program later this year, 2026.
And just to clarify something here, when they say passenger carrying, are we talking about me hailing an air taxi to get to the airport next week? Can I just download the app and go?
Not quite yet. Put the credit card away.
Darn it.
The report clarifies that passenger carrying operations are intended to begin with a pilot plus additional occupants.
Oh, okay.
So it's likely going to be control testing with specific passengers, think employees, regulators, maybe some VIPs, validating the experience and the safety before it opens up to the general public on an app.
Got it. So it's pilot plus a few lucky folks. It's the crawl phase before the run phase.
Exactly.
But what about the international side? Because the UAE seems to be moving incredibly fast on this.
The United Arab Emirates is very aggressive about adopting new tech. They view this as a major infrastructure play. Achr plans to deliver additional Midnight aircraft to the UAE, and they are on track for piloted operations and a commercial launch program there as well.
It's really interesting that they are running these parallel tracks. It almost feels like a race to see which regulatory environment cracks open first.
It is a race.
Yeah.
And having a foothold in both the U.S. and the Middle East really diversifies their risk.
Right. If the FAA slows down, the UAE might speed up.
Exactly. It ensures they aren't held hostage by a single government bureaucracy.
Okay, so the planes are real, the rules are agreed upon, and the flight path is set. But none of this matters if they run out of cash.
Very true.
And when I looked at the financials, I saw some numbers in the loss column that legitimately made me wince.
Hardware is hard, and it is incredibly expensive.
I mean, for the fourth quarter of 2025 alone, they lost $188.9 million.
Yep.
And if you look at the full year 2025, the net loss was $618.2 million.
That's a big number.
That is an increase of over $81 million. $81.4 million to be exact from the previous year. That is well over $500 million just gone in a year.
It is a staggering amount of money.
Ugh.
But in deep tech, you have to look at the quality of the burn.
Quality of the burn. That sounds like something a pyromaniac would say.
It really does. But look at where the money actually went. Operating expenses jumped to almost $730 million for the year.
Right. $729.6 million.
They aren't losing this money because of bad management or lavish corporate parties. They are investing it. They are pouring it into development, testing, certification. And this is critical go-to-market strategy and supply chain efforts.
So they are spending to scale.
Exactly.
They're hiring the people and building the factories to actually make these things, not just design them on a computer.
Right. If they were cutting costs right now, I would actually be terrified. That would mean they were stalling out. The fact that spending is going up means they are gearing up for mass production. But the real number you need to look at here is liquidity.
I saw that. They ended 2025 with record liquidity of approximately $2.1 billion. Let's see, specifically $1,964.7 million.
Nearly $2 billion. That is a massive war chest.
How did they get that kind of cash if they aren't even selling tickets yet?
It was primarily driven by 3 registered direct offerings that raised gross proceeds of $1.8 billion.
Wow.
Basically, big institutional investors looked at Achr, they looked at the regulatory progress, and they said, we believe you're going to win. They poured capital in to ensure Achr can survive the Valley of Death.
The Valley of Death being that terrible period between designing a product and actually selling it.
Correct. Most hardware startups die right there. They run out of cash just before the finish line. But with $2 billion, Achr has essentially built a bridge across that valley. They can afford to burn $160 million a quarter for a while.
And they aren't just burning it on payroll either. This is where it gets fascinating to me. They aren't just building their own stuff, they're buying other people's stuff.
Yes, the acquisitions.
The report mentions they acquired IP from Lilium and Achr.
This was a huge signal to the market. Lilium and Achr were direct competitors. They had their own eVTOL designs, their own engineering teams.
So Achr just bought them.
They bought their intellectual property. And this signals a major consolidation in the market. The eVTOL space was crowded with dozens of startups just a few years ago. Now we are seeing that leaders pull away. Achr isn't just surviving. They are actively absorbing the technology of their competitors.
That is such a power move. Like, oh, you have some cool tech. You have a clever way to cool a battery. We'll just take that, thank you.
It really does show confidence.
It shows they are confident they're going to be the ones left standing.
It suggests they are building a deep moat around their business. By controlling the IP, the infrastructure, remember they also bought Hawthorne Airport, and the aircraft itself, they are vertically integrating in a way that will make it very hard for new entrants to catch up.
Speaking of diversifying, I always just assumed Achr was an air taxi company. You know, flying commuters over traffic, getting bankers to Wall Street faster.
But looking at this report, there's a whole other side to the business involving the military. Yes, the defense opportunities segment. And frankly, I think this is the hidden gem in the entire report. It's not just about flying commuters anymore. They have a deep partnership with Anduril.
Anduril is that defense tech company, right? They make autonomous systems.
Correct. Anduril is a major player in modern defense technology. They specialize in making things fly themselves. Achr and Anduril are collaborating to design an autonomous hybrid electric VTOL aircraft for dual use.
And dual use usually means civilian and military, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But here is the specific detail that caught my eye. In November, Achr announced a deal with Anduril and the UAE's Achr Group to power the Omen autonomous air vehicle.
The Omen. That sounds intense, a little ominous even.
It's definitely a military name.
Okay.
But financially, the significance is that this is Achr's first third-party powertrain deal.
So what does that mean practically? They are selling the engine.
Essentially, yes. They were taking their proprietary technology, the batteries, the motors, the powertrain that makes the Midnight fly in the first place, and they are selling it to other companies for completely different applications.
Oh, wow.
This opens up a completely new revenue stream. They don't just have to run an airline. They can be a Tier 1 supplier of high-tech aerospace components.
That is really smart, because if the air taxi market takes longer to develop or if regulations slow down, they can still make money selling the guts of the machine to the military.
Precisely. It de-risks the business model. It creates a floor for their revenue. And it gives them a global footprint, too. The report mentions they announced a new UK engineering hub in Bristol.
Why Bristol?
Bristol is a historic hub for aerospace engineering in the UK. It's kind of like the Seattle of England for planes. They're setting up there to collaborate with Anduril UK and GKN on uncrewed vehicle programs.
So drones, basically.
Big drones, yes. It shows they're thinking globally, not just about flying around Los Angeles or New York.
Okay, so we have the Midnight aircraft getting ready for passengers. We have a massive pile of cash. And we have defense contracts kicking in. But let's look at the immediate future. What is the outlook for the next few months? Say Q1 2026.
Well, the spending certainly isn't slowing down. Their guidance for Q1 2026 estimates an adjusted EBITDA loss of $160 million to $180 million.
So they are going to burn another chunk of that $2 billion pretty quickly.
Yes. The trend is that expenses are rising. They mentioned specifically that this is due to an increase in people and vendor-related expenses.
Which makes total sense. If you are trying to launch an airline essentially from scratch in 12 months, you need a lot of people.
You need pilots, mechanics, 3D printers, compliance officers, marketing teams. The headcount growth is a leading indicator that they are serious about operations. If they were firing people right now, I'd be worried.
Right.
The fact that they are hiring and spending means the machine is actually being built.
It's the classic spend money to make money phase, but in this case, it's more like spend money to make history.
And to make safety. You cannot cut corners on your budget when you are trying to certify a novel aircraft at the FAA. That cash burn is simply the price of entry.
So let's try to pull this all together. We've covered a lot of ground today, from flight tests to balance sheets to military drones. If you had to summarize the state of Achr Aviation as of March 2, 2026, what is the headline?
The headline is Convergence. We are watching the transition from a research and development project to an operational airline happen in real time.
Yeah.
They have the capital. $2 billion is enough to get them through the hard part. They have the regulatory approval that 100% means of compliance is the golden ticket. And they have a diversified strategy. It's not just air taxes anymore, it's defense and technology sales.
It really feels like the rubber is finally meeting the road, or I guess the propeller is meeting the air.
Something like that, yeah.
But seriously, for you listening right now, why does this matter? Why should you care about Achr's Q4 results? Maybe you live in a rural area or you think this is just a toy for the rich.
You should care, because for the first time, the future actually has a deadline. We aren't talking about someday anymore. We're talking about 2026. This is the year where we find out if the math works. We are going to see these aircraft in the sky, carrying people, integrating into our airspace. It is going to fundamentally change how we think about urban mobility.
It changes the geometry of the city.
Exactly.
Right.
If you can move people vertically and then horizontally completely skipping the gridlock, you change where people can live and where they can work. Yeah. It's an infrastructure shift on the level of the subway or the interstate highway system.
But there is one thing that keeps nagging at me, and I want to leave you, the listener, with this thought to mull over.
Go on.
We talked about them buying up the competition.
Well,
Lilium over Air. We talked about them partnering with massive defense contractors like Achr. We talked about them selling powertrains to the military.
yes.
All of that.
Are we looking at just an air taxi company here? Or are we witnessing the birth of a next-generation aerospace monopoly?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. If they control the civilian skies with their taxis, and they power the military skies with their tech, and they own the IP of their failed rivals, that is a massive amount of power concentrated in one place. That is a very provocative question. In aerospace, scale is everything. Boeing and Airbus didn't get where they are by being small. Achr is building scale faster than anyone else right now. Whether that makes them a monopoly or just a dominant market leader, we will have to watch how 2026 plays out.
It's going to be a fascinating year to watch. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you in the skies.